Welcome back. Today we are talking about 16, the Tower. And Sallie Nichols wants us to think of this as destruction or deconstruction of the logos-based ego self and freedom from the locked and stagnant structures of thought imprisoning you away from your higher self. Towers are defensive structures. They are built to give us a higher viewpoint, a higher understanding of what's going on around us so that we can make logic-based tactical decisions based on what we observe in the world around us. If we take this at a sort of a metaphorical level, then this is to allow us a better understanding of the world and a better understanding of the landscape of the self, which in Jungian psychology, I think we can sort of almost harmfully reduce it to three concepts of self: the shadow, the ego self, and the higher self. And this tower is a metaphor of trying to get to the higher self, but being stuck in the situation of 15, the devil, which is essentially the ego self. Or rather, it's being stuck in the shadow of the ego self. If we take this and apply this to sort of a more psychological idea, then the tower is made out of our thoughts, ideas, experiences, and is cyclical. So we make a circular tower because we keep having these same concepts, these same ideas, if we don't allow anybody else's thoughts in. And because this is the ego self, we're not going to allow anybody else's thoughts in because that's outside of our wall. We don't have to get in touch with that. We want to get in touch with our higher selves, a better me, which reminds me a lot of a talk that Alan Watts gave about self-improvement. And this is probably a terrible paraphrase of his quote, one of the quotes from that, where he says that every kind of culture in America, in this country, is dedicated to self-improvement. How can I be better? But how can you make yourself better when you don't know what better is? And I would argue that what he's essentially saying is that there is no universal better. We can make choices that meet our health needs, that align ourselves with a healthier body. There are choices that we can make that meet our intellectual needs, our spiritual needs, our emotional needs, our physical needs, that align us with those needs and wants in a more direct way. But none of those make you better. None of those make you worse. Not following those doesn't make you worse. There is no better, in very much the same way that the higher self seems to be this ideological ideal that we can never reach. And I think that's sort of the crux of some of the issues that we have in Western society, I would say globally, but definitely in America and most of Western society, is that folks are trying to be better. They're trying to be more of something, and to prove that they are better than somebody else, which is a baseline ego thought. Like, that is the most sort of self-centered and self-interested thing that we can do, is to try to be better than somebody else, because then we feel an inflation of self-worth. And so what happens is that we build these towers of our own thoughts and experiences, trying to get to a higher self that doesn't exist, and effectively only managing to wall ourselves off from our actual self, from our actual wants and needs, from the people around us, from the world around us, and from our own understanding of what's going on. And it breaks, because we do not live in a vacuum, and we are sometimes forced to confront another person's experience or another person's story, or however you want to contextualize it. We take in the experience or the idea of somebody else. And sometimes that is earth-shattering because it takes the bricks that we built our tower out of, our thoughts and our opinions, and either completely nullifies them or breaks them into pieces because it's so anathema to what we understand. And so our tower crumbles. And that's what this card is about, is allowing yourself sort of an external view it's a warning to not keep yourself locked up and locked away from living life, having experiences, and moving outside of that stagnant comfort zone that you have. Because that's when you actually start to live, and that's when you actually start to have growth, and that's when you can connect to other people and understand the world in a meaningful way that isn't locking yourself away, which is why the windows here are shut and there are no doors, and why being in this tower can feel safe when it actually is not. So thank you very much for listening to me, and we will return with 17, the star, in our next video. So thank you very much. Okay, love you, bye.